Claire, welcome back to 3RW Afternoons.
Thank you for having me. How are you going?
Lovely to have you here.
Oh.
You write these songs on a Casio keyboard?
Some of them I do. That particular one was written on a piano, I'll admit. But yeah, the Casio came out from the back shed as a bit of a joke.
I've got one of them.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
I'm going to get it out.
We all do. That's the joy of it.
There you go.
I've got one, didn't I?
Well, Bill, you must get one. You might write some hit records.
Yeah, okay.
I'll get you one, Bill.
Oh, right, thanks very much, Claire. Listen, that's a song about your dad, isn't it?
It is, my beautiful daddy. Yes, Ian. Yeah.
And was he able to appreciate your music?
He was. My dad was a barrister over Owen Dixon Chambers, and he's a good man, and he was a simple and kind man too. And the thing about him, he had dementia, and he had it for the last 7 years of his life. He passed away a year and a half ago at 68.
Okay.
And he was a darling because he knew he'd come to my shows. I wrote a song called Homage to My Dad in the ABC. He would come along and, you know, tip his hat, and he knew he was being celebrated, and he really deserved it because he was a bit of a quiet achiever.
That's fantastic.
That's lovely sentiment. And your songs, what motivates you to write songs? I mean, obviously about your dad.
Yeah.
That's a natural one. But what gets you to do it?
To be honest, I really find songwriting and creative activity as the most useful way to make sense of a confusing life. I think we're all born with a big question mark on our hearts, and I have always used music as a playful way to kind of just work through ideas or strong emotions, and I find it equally as useful as sport.
Now, your album has changed a lot from the last three, hasn't it? It sounds different.
Yes.
And is that because of the Berlin influence? Did you go to Berlin to try and think of a new sound for your new music?
No, I'm never that intentional. I wish I was. That would make my life a heck of a lot easier. But in actual fact, it was I felt this new sound coming up, and we wanted to go on a bit of an adventure. We'd been very kind of caught in Melbourne, and we just went. We just picked up the family and went. And the new song, I think, was the right way for me to tell the story I'm trying to tell, which is about, you know, the modern day and sort of the things that we get caught up in. And I want it to be a very immediate and contagious sound.
And when you say we, it's you and your husband, isn't it, Marty?
Me, my husband, my band, my friends, my community. I'm a very, I thrive on conversations with people, and this album is a result of probably thousands of conversations.
You don't get into that sort of total commercial sort of world. Is that you've got a fantastic following, you're so successful. Do you feel at any time that you want to go down that path? I prefer
to wear clothes, is my general way of saying. And I think if you really want to compete in that kind of hypersexual, hyper-pop world, there are compromises that you need to make. And you need to... And I love a vacuous pop song as much as the next person, but I think for me it wouldn't make much sense because my impetus... this thing about being, having to be successful, meaning that you have to be famous and show your face and so on, that was incredibly uncomfortable for me for the first decade of my music making. So I'm only really just coming to terms with it, Dennis. You know how it is.
It's sort of been organic for you, hasn't it, Claire? Because community radio supported you early on.
Yeah.
And so I guess when you won the ARIA, what was it, 2006?
Yeah.
It wasn't because you had saturation airplay on commercial radio,
it certainly wasn't, which was the big shock for us. And we it was an absolute shock, and Casey Chambers probably should have taken it in the end. I have no idea how that happened, really, but it was lovely.
But that's testament to people really loving what you're doing.
Thank you, Dennis. It was lovely, a lovely surprise.
And tell us about the influence of the children, because your daughter Asha, she's 6 now, and the twins are, 4?
Close. Asha has just turned 7 not too long ago, and the boys are 3, so Oscar and Elijah, the identical twins. Yeah. So they're 3, Asha's 7, and she actually was a lot of the inspiration for writing an album about the kind of times we live in, the kind of distractions that we find ourselves caught in, and thinking about the future and what we want, and what they want, and talking to my niece about what she goes through now as a teenager, and all of those things informed this. But Asha actually helped me write one of the songs on the album called Modern Day Addiction.
And how did she help you?
It was really interesting.
7-year-old helped you write a song.
I know, that's a fascinating thing. I think all children write songs. I don't know if you remember when you boys were kids, but we all play with language and we write songs, and she's always been that way inclined, and because, like me, no one ever told her she couldn't, so she does freely write songs, as I argue that most children do. In this particular song, it was her suggesting to me, what about the computer, Mum? That's one of the ones that we get caught up in, and her level of knowledge of what it is to be distracted and addicted was kind of quite stunning to me. But she was really helpful as a sounding board and as a kind of someone to play around with words with.
Well, you're saying you were never told that you couldn't do things.
That's right, yeah.
I guess kids are told all the time they can't do things. How much do you think that shaped you?
Look, I think it's been enormously helpful. I just saw Bill drinking from what I think is a jug, and I got slightly distracted.
Yes, he doesn't bother with cups. Why have a cup? That means you've got to wash 2 dishes.
I can bathe in it as well, Claire.
So when you're at home with Billy Pennell,
multifunctional.
You just drink out of the jug.
It's my kind of activity.
Oh, good on you, mate.
He's very expensive in a shout, though, I tell you.
It's a big one. Sorry, Dennis, back to your question. Yes, enormous.
Bill, we do have cups.
Sorry, Dennis.
We do have cups and glasses here. Okay. What's the question?
I want to be adventurous like Claire, so I'm going to go for the jug.
Live in the wild side. That's right.
I'll walk on the wild side. Thank you, Claire.
That is a musical instrument.
What was the question?
Oh, it was about being not told that I mean, I listened
limitations.
Back to tapes. Okay, so I was as I said before, my parents were very kind people, and they didn't bash out of me the fact that I wanted to make noise with song. You know, they kind of let me go with it. They gave me a tape recorder. They taught me how to press, record and play at the same time, and off we went. So I never knew that I couldn't sing for a bar of soap. I listened back to the song and it sounds like a violin screeching, early on. But I just believed that that I could, so I kept doing it.
Yeah, that's great.
And you've just got the support with Leonard Cohen.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Can you?
No, I can't. I'm totally stunned.
He must be pushing 75. He was here last year, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
And he did
mid-70s now.
He did two and a bit hours.
Well,
did you go and see the show?
No, but everyone raved about him.
He's one of the few 75-year-olds who can make quite a lot of Melbourne quite hot under the collar and quite flushing. He is extraordinary as a musician, we all know that, but as a performer and as a kind of piece of entertainment that carries you away, and so classy. And I think the thing is always, and I've always felt this with Paul Kelly and other people, the privilege of standing side of stage and seeing, someone who's at the top of their game. It's just amazing.
Bill, Claire is not only a great songwriter and performer, but she has one other talent that we've discovered.
She's a Collingwood supporter.
No. She's a Julia Gillard impersonator, prime ministerial impersonator.
Oh, really? Are you?
Could you give us a little bit...
Well, the most embarrassing thing was interviewing her last week and having to do the impersonation for her, which was a whole other story. Ladies and gentlemen of the Australian public, it is my great pleasure to negotiate with you today on a prime agreement.
Very good.